For this edition of Film and Shows Adaptation, I ended up reading these three Preacher books. And guess what? It was surprisingly great. And I will also debunk a common belief, a popular belief, that the TV show didn't really adapt the books, or it adapted only a small portion of the books. That's a lie. Because I did ended up reading all 6 books. Maybe there were other editions I missed out, but the main 6 books about Preacher were adapted by the TV show, with a few change, a few difference, and the only really missing storyline was Preacher bonding with his mother at some point. That was really the only missing part. And I am live talking about the Preacher TV show. I quite enjoyed that second viewing. Let's talk about it. Let's start by screen sharing the wiki page to talk about the cast and everyone involved. Let's get into it. There we go. So Preacher is considered a black comedy, a dark fantasy, a drama, a neo-western. Very interesting things here. And all of these things are also accurate to the books. So I think the adaptation of Preacher is a very good adaptation. So let's continue the reading here. Southern Gothic supernatural horror based on Preacher by Garth Ennis. Steve Dillon. Developed by Sam Catlin, Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg. Showrunner Sam Catlin. Starring Dominic Cooper as Preacher. Joseph Gilgan as Cassidy the Vampire. Ruth Negga as Tulip the Love Interest. Lucy Griffith, I will be honest, I'm not quite sure. I think that's the assistant of the bad guys. With W. Earl Brown, not quite sure about that one. Derek Wilson, Jan Colletti as R-Space, Tom Brooke, Anatole Youssef, Graham McTavish, Pip Turin, Noah Taylor, Julian Ann Emery, Malcolm Barrett, Colin Cunningham, Betty Buckley, Mark Ehrlich, Tyson Ritter, composer Dave Porter. I think the music made sense with the TV show, so the composer did a great job. Country of origin, United States. Original language, English. Number of season 4. Number of episode 43. So let's get into that big discussion about Preacher. So Preacher, overall, is a fun experience, and I enjoyed it as much on both viewing, which is very different from Lucifer we covered last week, because Lucifer I was disappointed on the second viewing, but not Preacher. So now let's get into the plot for season 1 of Preacher. Let's get into it. Preacher G. Custer gets new powers, taking away free will from people. He uses his powers to control minds, to spread the message of the Christian religion. He wants to be a better person, helped by Tulip and Vampire Cassidy. The trio fights off immortal soldier and angel sent by God. So that's really the plot for the first season. So the first season was quite enjoyable. So let's talk about my favorite 3 episode and the worst 3 episode of season 1. So my top 3 is in third place, episode 5 with a 10. Followed in second place with episode 6 with a 10. And my favorite episode in the first season was episode 2 with a 10. The worst 3 episode of the first season. In last place We got episode 3 with the 9. In second place, we got episode 1 with the 8.5. And my least favorite of season 1 was episode 8 with the 8.5. So my issues with the first season, dialogue wasn't all great. Pacing was bad. The same story could have been told with an 8 episode instead of 10. And this is unfortunate because again, I think overall the season did work, but the pacing always an issue with this show, and it came back this time around on this most recent viewing as well. That's very unfortunate, but again, doesn't mean it's a bad show. A lot of shows do have issues here and there. So let's continue with my thoughts on this first season. So my second issue with season 1, the dialogue sometimes was really annoying. And I think it's on Seth Rogen because I see parallel with a lot of his other works, like Good Fortune, sometimes had unbearable dialogue, and that was a Seth Rogen thing last year. So, despite my 2 dislikes, there's a lot of enjoyment, a lot of likes, a lot of themes I enjoyed. So, the characters and villain were entertaining. The music was very fun. The action was cool. The flashbacks were great. Preacher went from letting God decide to taking action. Destiny versus atheism. Preacher taking action. Word can be weaponized. Theme of word being empty without action. Preacher taking away free will, going exactly against God will was interesting. Preacher being a man of his word was nice. Tulip being all about hating religion was a nice contrast to Preacher. And the irony in all of that. Irony. She gets to see God before Preacher, and she hates religion, which is kind of funny. So, overall, this first season for me was a well-deserved 9.5 out of 10. Am I crazy to think it that way? I don't think so. But we will look into the Rotten Tomato because that could be interesting to explore. So let's get into it. Um, am I the only one in my boat? Preacher, let's get into it. TV show. Wow. I thought that'd be easier. Preacher TV show. There we go. There's something weird with Rotten Tomato tonight. Well, looks like we will skip on that segment tonight. But again, Preacher the first season was quite fun. Both viewing were as fun. So now let's get into season 2. Season 2 was something else. Season 2 was a nice follow-up to what we had with season 1. So let's get into it. The plot for season 2. After leaving a city he is living in for years, Preacher G. Custer goes to New Orleans to find God with the help of Vampire Cassidy and his lover Tulip. The Grail, a Christian group, decides to investigate G. Custer. Does he have Genesis, the power to basically take away free will from people? This is the big thing that's been going on with that second season. Now, again, that second season was a great follow-up. We didn't enter territory of season 3 yet. Season 3 was a disaster, to say the least. So let's talk about the top 3 and the worst 3 episode of season 2. So let's find them. So the top 3, I thought I had it written, but let's get into it. Oh, I found it. So my top 3 episode of season 2 are: in third place, we got episode 13 with a 10. In second place, we got episode 7 with a 10. And in first place, we got episode 3 with a 10. So season 2 overall was very enjoyable. Again, these are my favorite episodes of that season. And now let's mention the worst 3. I just found the the other ranking I had. So the worst 3 episodes for season 2. In last place, we got episode 9 with the 8.5. In second place, in the worst 3, we got episode 8 with the 8.5. And my least favorite episode of season 2 was the second episode with a 9. Now, how does the top 10 so far looks like? The second episode of season 1 is still my favorite episode up to that point. And it's a lot being told because I think that was a great follow-up to the first episode of that season. And it's a standout episode because even in the entire show, it remains one of the best seasons. So, now let's talk about the issues with season 2. And I will sound like a broken record because some of the issues in season 1 are the same in season 2. Let's get into the issues. Weird and off-putting dialogue. So again, the dialogue is the biggest sin of that TV show. Sometimes it just doesn't feel like characters are talking. And it got under my skin quite a lot. I won't lie here. I won't lie. Now, my second issue, just like season 1, it's the pacing. The pacing is so bad. It's the longest season in terms of episode count, and it doesn't feel justified. Runtime too long. Episode count could be reduced by cutting the filler and by smashing episodes together. So, despite my gripes, despite my issues, let's get into the likes. The action was entertaining, the music was great, the characters were likable, Elle was amazing, something we didn't get in the books. We have seen the Saint shooting the devil in the books, but that's as far as we went with Elle in the books. And I really enjoyed how they explored Elle in the TV show. The Saint was entertaining. The Son of Cassidy was entertaining. The lore, as usual, was great. Some joke aside, most of the humor did work. Themes and character arcs. Preacher accepting to become God for Star was interesting. Preacher realizing that might be pointless to seek for an awful God, that was nice growth. The relationship blowing up because of Preacher's selfishness made sense. Coster lying on why he didn't send the Saint in Elle was interesting. Cassidy giving immortality to his son was cool growth. Theme of trauma through Preacher and Tulip. Preacher neglecting everyone else for religion was interesting. Elle punishing goodness was a nice concept. Again, not found in the books. Cassidy struggling with the idea of giving immortality to his son made sense. Tulip giving up on love for vengeance was cool. Preacher destroying his friendship for the wrong reason was tragic. Tulip not fitting Preacher box was cool. Nice team of people changing. Overall, season 2 for me is a well-deserved 9.5 out of 10. Now, that was in purpose. This episode would be much shorter than the previous 2 we had. And it's normal. I mean, we only deal with 2 seasons instead of 3. Now, this is a big segment. The source of material segment. I don't know why I cut off. It adapted most of the books. That's a big misconception people have. It did adapt very well the books. So let's get into the source of material segment. Despite common belief, the TV show adapted most of the books. The thing, or I should say, the big thing that the show didn't adapt would be Eugene cancel culture subplot as a rock star and preacher reuniting with his mother. Key changes would be the addition of Elle, Cassidy's son, and Tulip husband. The love relationship in the show was also undersold and undercooked when you compare to the preacher and Tulip love story in the books. Most characters were faithful. Eugene taking a bullet was different from the book. In the books, he is inspired by Kurt Cobain and had a bad friend that told him to do that. Cassidy is a lot more a monster in the books. I'd say overall, as an adaptation, the TV show sits around a 8 out of 10. Because I think it mostly adapts in a faithful way what we had. It has some change, it's normal. And I feel like season 4, they tried to bring some of the missing pieces, but that's a discussion for next week. And I cannot expect the same runtime next week for season 3 and 4. So overall, a very good start of a show. Season 2 was slightly above season 1, and season 3 is season 3. A disappointment. Anyway, what did you think of the Preacher TV show? I enjoyed it. So now that's the outro. What happens next on the channel? Friday, we talk about, well, we don't talk, we play Requiem because we want to beat the game. Saturday, we talk politics. Monday, maybe I will talk about the new movie, The Bride. Not quite sure. We'll see how it goes with that one. And maybe next Tuesday, we will play some Requiem once again. Next Wednesday, we talked about the end of the Preacher TV show. And yeah, that's the idea. So what people are up to. Anyway, I am out. See you soon for more streams, and hopefully I will sound more professional in the future. Take care. Have a great one.